What's up, everybody? So I just want to give a quick intro here because Jubilee blocked this video, and I'd like to showcase some of the opinions of a great historian like Donald Yakovon. So if you want to see the video that we played during this segment, I'll leave a link in the description box below. It is of a quite literal Nazi named Pine Snap who went on Jubilee and debated Mehdi Hassan, though it wasn't really a debate. It was more so them getting their rage out on a journalist and him saying that he is proud to call himself a fascist. And in turn, Mehdi Hassan would say at one point when they were talking about human rights and what have you, that he could not even condemn the Nazi Holocaust. So what we discussed here was Jubilee and mass media. Enjoy. Okay, so with that being said, as you are watching this, as a historian, this anti-intellectualism movement taking place, that it's also coinciding and perfectly matching with fascism. As a historian, how do you view these clips not only coming about, but being platformed time and time again?
Well, it's an act of desperation. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty clear and simple. Now, an act of desperation because of the changes that we have just been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they would find their answer in some of the most evil and murderous regimes is not, well, I mean, it's pathetic. It's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It's astonishing. But it's also indicative of the desperation these people feel.
That's interesting because I never thought about it as desperation.
Yeah, no. I mean, he may have been smiling, but he was as desperate a human being as I've ever seen. To ignore the Holocaust, it didn't happen. Well, what we're seeing from our current president is the ability to say anything at any time.
Yeah.
To support your stand, even if you just said the opposite 3 days earlier. I mean,
But why is it so mainstream now? Like, I'm seeing all these far right. I work in media. I work for a media company. I'm seeing all these far right podcasters, like anti Holocaust denial, huge on the right. Like,
yeah. Okay, look, let me. As a geezer, I can explain this. Okay,
right.
Because
You said geezer, by the way, not me.
I said geezer. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I come from a different era, I can explain to a lot of people who would not be aware of this that it used to be that the sources of information, of news about the nation, about the world, were restricted. Now, I don't mean to say that people didn't allow information to spread. What I mean was that there were a limited number of areas in which you could get information. When I grew up, there were 4 television stations. That was it.
5, 7, and 9, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was it. And you had a radio, and you had a few television stations, and you had your local newspaper. A lot of people couldn't get a national newspaper because they didn't live in the right place. And that's where you got your information. So information was more regulated, if that's a better term,
Sure,
than it is today. Now, there's no standard for getting information. You can get information wherever your computer leads you. And it isn't necessarily from well-educated and trained reporters. In fact, it's mostly demagogues. And so the fact that information is now freely accessed, freely distributed in an endless series of outlets, there isn't a control over what's real and what isn't.
Well, I think there's an interesting conversation there because the internet has helped in so many ways, but
Right.
it's obviously hurt in so many ways that we're
Exactly.
leading towards this. So, like,
Yeah.
what in a perfect world, what is the answer?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. As I was talking earlier, because of the internet, because of digitized resources, I can do scholarship I've never been able. No one has able to do earlier. But at the same time, that same um, technology
Hmm.
creates this maelstrom of disinformation and lack of credibility because you have people who have no training but are ideologically driven. They're not CBS trained reporters from the 1970s or NPR. Okay, these are people who simply have a big mouth and a organ to spread what they have to say.
And are
There's no
desperate for
training.
the attention to get the ad revenue.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and it's endless, and and it's
Hmm.
uncontrollable.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is utterly uncontrollable, and from what I can determine, it's always going to be that way now.
Unfortunately, yes. I remember seeing, and I could try to pull it up, but a graph. I think Media Matters published it, showing the bubbles on YouTube alone of how the right just outflanks the left on news
Right,
because people think that some of these folks are news when
right,
really they're just conservative influencers who cosplay as journalists and they
right,
would probably argue in court that they're journalists,
right. Sure, yeah,
but that's it.
but do they have journalistic training?
No.
No, of course not.
No.
No, no. At the same time, and I don't want to idealize the old regime either, because they didn't talk about race. They didn't talk about American racial attitudes. And it was a gradual process of even that restricted environment of getting into the civil rights movement and telling the story of African Americans um, seeking justice and
Right.
democracy. Um, and so it works both ways in both elements in both eras.
I just want to show this because I found it. Here is what I was talking about. So the red bubbles are obviously conservative,
Yep.
and the blue bubbles are
Right.
um, liberal, leftist, socialist, anywhere on the left, you could say. And the company that I work for is right here. But if you look at it in terms of others, and this is even outdated, these numbers have gone up.
Yeah.
It is so one dimensional, and how so many today are getting their news through mass media.
Yes. Yeah. They're certainly not reading the New York Times or the Washington Post.
Yes, but respectfully, even with Jeff Bezos taking over the Washington Post,
Yeah.
some are many even feeling like, and look, I think there are fantastic journalists who obviously work for the Post. But that level of oversight is already leading to more people saying, well, can I trust it? It's run
Right.
by someone who is, in Bernie Sanders' terms, an oligarch, which I would
Right.
agree with.
Well, look, when I was in elementary school, they told us to get your information from various sources, not
Same.
rely on one.
Same.
Uh,
Right.
I don't know what they're teaching these days. What I hear is not very inspiring. Um, yeah.
Oh, that was a long exhale.